Reframing Mindset podcast. We are clear my head of the thoughts that are preventing clarity, practice my speech, among other things. Episodes range from informative knowledge to funny stories about my experiences, and in the future, maybe include interviews. So subscribe and enjoy. Episodes drop every other day. Okay, welcome back to Reframe Mindset podcast. It's concept books. I know this episode I talk about. I guess it's a me update now. A me update. And what basically with the me update is that I try and make business purchases and like like a me update and stuff like that. And it's like I being record the updates, the monthly updates and stuff like that. Because I guess you pass somewhat of a worse. You pass somewhat of a worse. It's like it's not really updates anymore. It's just that you're reaching the new level. So what will happen is that there's always counting the dollars or stuff like that. But now you actually have tangible stuff now. So it's like so they're doing real stuff now. So it's like when I talk about the theory of business cycle and stuff like that, you're going to be actually doing this stuff in real life and be like, oh my god, talking about business stuff. I have so now actually doing business stuff like I make purchases related to making this podcast even better again now. Like actually the chair that I was using actually replaced that, so I have this chair and I actually going out to actually do some shirt, making some shirt. Not for the I actually do the shirt, but the shirt for my gaming page and stuff. If it actually goes up, actually does stuff like that. So that what happens that usually I'll go out and do the updates because what you're in a time of shortage, or it's in a time of shortage, and things were uncertain. So this actually have to fill your time up with something. But what happens that you pass the worst. You pass the worst of a stage. You pass the worst of a stage, and now this again. What you actually have to do is maintain that stage now. So they say not come in and say something like you're not always a proclaiming. You're not always a proclaiming again. You're actually living what you always was proclaiming back in the days. So like back in the days, you always are saying, yeah, I'm gonna get a house, I'm gonna get a car, and all this stuff. I'm gonna graduate. Now you actually do those stuff. Now you actually have to be like, okay, yeah. Now you actually do those stuff. Now you actually have to come in and start do this stuff. So that's basically phase now. Where be like, oh yeah, back in the days, you hear me say something like, oh, monthly updates, so small stuff. But now we actually in this year now we actually be like, yeah, we actually know some of the answers now. We're still not rich enough to actually go out there and just buy all the answers. But we're rich enough to buy more of the better answers. And it's like, okay, the better answer is not going to come out and be like, oh, me buy it. And the thing about this episode talk about shelf life. Cause even the better answers, as better answers have a shelf life. Even the better answers have a shelf life. And what do I mean by that? You need to so like just like a car and stuff like that. Once you purchase a car, no matter how bad it is, if you didn't have a car before, you automatically become somewhat competent about cars. And what will happen is that you buy a next car and stuff like that. But you buy a next car, you afford to buy a next car. You will actually, by virtue of you not knowing what a car is or whatever is, you know what you like. If you have both of them, you actually can go down and say, I don't like this about this one, I don't like this about this one. So like what even the rookie can come in and say, okay, yeah, the next time I'm gonna buy a car, it has to have this. And then boom bang quick boom, this become a luxurious car, whatever, because what it actually does you it's not like you automatically become a car expert. You reach a point where you could finally own a car, like finally drive and be like, okay, I'm driving now. I'm out there so driving. I didn't care about what I was driving. I just wanted to drive like I don't complain about the the food unless the goal is when the goal is to eat or stuff like that, So it's like, you don't complain about the car when hey you couldn't you afford it. I don't complain about the house when I was out there, so starting from the basement, bro. I don't complain about the house when I was starting in the basement and I was in a room. Now I'm in a home in what would technically be the fourth year. So those are stuff where I be like, yeah, you have to actually remember these stuff where I be like, remember where you're coming from. And sometimes with the podcast, what happens is that I record it, and what happens is that I don't remember. I record it and be like, okay, and you see me on the streets, I forgot where I came from. It's like, yeah, because when I record it out there, so forgot everything. You actually listen to the podcast, it's out there, just clear my head. So somebody come and like see me out there, so angry and stuff like that. It's just that, I'm somewhat basically forgetful. So I go out in the streets and be like, oh yeah, I actually forgot that I was here before. So it's not like you're gonna see me out there so doing business move. And it's like, and what will happen is that I upgrade from the employee phase going to the more. And that's the thing, bro. Where it'll be like, oh my god, and that's the phase of life, bro, where you actually get so you get started enjoy that employee phase so much that I get used to it, and then all of a sudden you upgrade to the business phase. I'm like, oh my god, I miss those employee days so much, bro. I'd be like, oh my god, bro, I wish I could just go. But what happens is that your body out there just not more likely to just go towards the business because what once because what it's just a natural progress like everything about shelf life and you just naturally out there so going towards the business move until out there so boom going towards the BSc just start doing MSc moves after the boom and it's like oh my god I need I always hear me talking about the good BSc days bro and that's all you will always just hear so what happen is that everything on shelf life is like they hear all these updates, small updates, and be like, yeah, yeah, yeah. But what happens is that you pass the worst. It's like you pass the worst of that stage and be like, okay, now I actually have tangible dollars to do stuff. Alright, not only tangible dollars, but sometimes you have tangible items to do stuff. So like, out there, so tangible items and then tangible dollars. So what means that out there, so with the tangible dollars, you out there, so make some tangible purchases and learn the limits of those purchases. Now you actually say, okay, now you're in the phase where be like, okay, I'm gonna buy more of those same purchases now. So because I know now that okay, the purchases may not be I can't afford the best purchase, but I actually go out there and buy the stuff. I don't need to buy more of the stuff. And I know that I actually know that in 2025 that I actually need to go and buy the stuff. I'm not gonna go out there and buy, and that's the reason why it's certain thing buy things in bulk and stuff like that. But like this phase of your life cycle is that you're able to buy bigger things in bulk. So like buy our certain bigger stuff Iron Bulk makes sense. Like you'll hear like IMBA start going like, oh my god, when I moved to LA and buy like 24 and go to like I buy like 70 grand and stuff like that. You're just doing those stuff and it'd be like, yeah, bro. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's you, bro. That's you. That's you. That's you. And it's like, oh, it makes sense. It makes sense. And it's like, oh yeah, yeah, it makes sense. And it's so natural. Because what happens is that compound interest, your DSO started out small, but you use the core fundamentals, and then what happens that the small just becomes big. Small just become small. You did a change, just that you were just using the core fundamentals, and the core fundamentals brought you somewhere. And it's like, okay, now I'm just gonna buy better quality of the stuff. Buy better quality of the stuff in more quantities. Even though you know that okay, everything out here have a better quality and all these stuff. And it's like, yo, that's how the thing goes. That's how the thing goes. And it's like, yo. So that's basically the main update where be like, yeah, you out there start reaching the new level of stuff where be like, okay, I passed the worst. And it's like, yeah, we actually doing this, bro. We actually doing this, bro. actually making this business move, or whatever, bro. So it's like, wow, bro, that's actually wow. Yeah, so that's basically it for this episode, and yeah, mhm. And look forward for the next. I guess I could actually just see, sir. Yeah, since I may update, I'm going to see some more stuff. So it's like, what I'm going to try to do is me is actually try. All these stuff is actually try to clear up the place, bro. Like that's the thing, man. I'm in the fourth year of the home ownership. What happens is that and this is part of it. Be like, okay, yeah, you, if you're actually listening, you hear chickens and stuff like that. I hear the episode where I talk about okay, I hear my experiences with dogs and stuff like that, and then you hear me say, okay, I never know that I might actually get a dog. What happened was that this chicken now, and that's why I said these things are blessing in disguise. That chicken experience actually come in and show me that okay, I was not ready for animal at all. Bro. This chicken come in and do feces on every single thing, almost every single thing in the house, bro. Almost every single thing in the house, bro. All the good stuff. I basically throw away like a lot of good. Maybe throw away a lot of good stuff because of the chicken, bro. And then imagine me now upgrading from a chicken to a dog or a cat or stuff like that. Yes, so these stuff, this chicken, bro, he actually teach us that. So, like, yeah, these stuff ain't easy, bro. But the chicken has its benefits. Back in the days when I just started the home ownership, the chicken helped me get rid of a lot of cockroaches and stuff like that. So it's like can't bite the hand that fed us, and I can't that actually help us in those times. But at the same time, we have to actually set boundaries now. And it's like, okay, yeah, the chicken has to stay outside until the out there to say, okay, yeah, we're going to go and just put the chicken outside of the house and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm not in the phase where I'm out there going to go out and try to destroy the chicken or stuff like that. What I actually do, I'll go to the street and I'll go out and actually buy stuff so that okay when to prevent them to try to prevent them from actually coming into the home. I actually put it in the home. What I realized was I actually can put more of that same stuff. I actually telling me it's actually called door mesh and stuff like that. So it's like you know actually go out there and put those stuff into the home. And what that does, what I realized it could do is actually separate these things into compartments, separate the homes into compartments. So you hear me complain last year, or one of the years about ants or red ants or rats or stuff like that. Having this door measure and stuff like that, we kind of just put things into compartments now. I could actually just go into a room and say, okay, yeah, this is how we actually get rid. We go in and say, okay, we're gonna go into the bedroom and just go in and just clear out the whole of the stuff and have the door mesh close off, enclose everything because what the door mesh allows air, but it doesn't allow some big things to go through and stuff like that. So it actually allows me to actually go into the room, do some deep cleaning, and be like, okay, yeah, I do the deep cleaning now and finish. Like only thing supposed to be out there so interfering with that room is whatever enters that room when I was going to the room. So if a rat comes in, okay, I know that okay, the rat came in when one of the time when I actually opened the door mesh and stuff like that. So it's like I seen it with the answer and stuff like that. And then now doing that now actually breaks me out of the habit now of saying, okay, I'm gonna start maybe stop or find better ways of eating inside of the room or do stuff like that. So it's like the door mesh stuff, it actually helps me to partitionalize the room, deal with the problems of every room, and then when I actually deal with every problem, I know that okay, the only issue the only thing the only problem with that room is whatever entered that room at that time. So so the only issue for that room was whatever was in that room at that time. So it's like it actually helps me to that door mesh investment, bro. Actually helps me actually go out and do that thing. Um, Start out the house real easy. Just that I did act, now that I know that, actually go out and be like, okay, I would actually go out and buy that. Actually go out and buy that. But it's just that, yeah, okay, we actually need to go out there and actually see them, be like, oh my god, that was so convenient, bro. That was so convenient. Okay, yeah, yeah. So it's that that was actually something that actually did. I'm like, okay, put it in compartments and you compartmentalize stuff, and that actually. So me, so what happens is that this is the lesson is that sometimes I go out and buy it for one problem, and you see so many use cases for the same thing. And be like, oh my god. So this one door mesh now actually, so what? Oh, so the lesson for this in this thing was that I actually bought something for to prevent dogs and stuff like that. But it was based on expert knowledge. It was the wrong purchase. So it was basically the wrong purchase. So I was always trying to tailor fit it for the chicken. And then I said, you know what? No, it makes sense. No, make me just go out there and just spend, and actually just go out and spend for the buy the real thing for the chicken to prevent the chicken instead of me out there to going out. I was trying to out there to use some hand tools like pliers and stuff like that. Actually go out and out there and go and fix the problem manually. I said, no, actually let's go out and buy the actual the right thing itself. I'm actually going by the right thing itself. It saved me so much time. And then actually by me buying it, I realized so much use case for these stuff. So what will happen is that sometimes you actually go out and you see a problem and you be like, okay, I'm gonna go out and buy this stuff to solve the problem. And sometimes you buy the wrong size of the stuff, or it's that you don't have the wrong answer, you buy the wrong size or wrong stuff. Are things like that. You buy the wrong size or wrong stuff. I'm like, okay. But one of the things is that you have the episode that useless thing become useful. Just put it down, you don't know what the use of it yet is. Is that every person it was being sold for a reason. That's the thing. It was being sold for the reason, just that you don't know what the reason was for yet. You just buy the wrong thing. Buy you go out and buy the something else now. What happens is that you realize so many use cases for the one thing now. And so it's like, in the so sometimes it be like the main update is basically you out there. So in the fourth year phone, it's actually you making the purchases. So you're out there, so making various purchases, home purchases and business purchases. You're out there, so leaving the employee, you're out there, so doing business purchases. You're out there, so doing stuff to say, okay, we're doing business stuff. And that's the thing, be like, okay, you actually listen to my university experience and stuff like that. You actually realize that I'm actually applying everything that I actually somehow, some way, everything that I actually learn. So that's why more while I'll be like, oh my god, I'm so close to do this. I'll be like, yeah, because I still, it's like I did a lot of stuff in those 3 years, bro. Sometimes I forgot I actually do a lot of stuff in those 3 years, bro. It's like, yeah. Yeah, even though we ended that way, we actually did a lot of stuff in those 3 years, bro. So it's like, yo. And this podcast is just a new addition to it. Yeah, so. hmm Yeah, so it's like, the other thing with me, it would be like, oh, in me, 2025, we're out there, so making the purchases. And that's the thing of the 40, it's like, everything have a shelf life. Even this house will have a shelf life, but knowing that it has a shelf life, it can extend it or extend the shelf life. So even the house have a shelf life and stuff like that. So that's the thing when I talk about the hurricane experience, kind of come in and expose some weakness and stuff like that at the house. Is that me knowing that no, you kind of extend it out and be proactive. Don't be one of those people. Oh my God, when hurricanes coming out there, so be like, okay, I'm gonna prepare for a hurricane. Just knowing that, boom, the general thing. I guess that's this thing of the benefit now of you out there, so breaking out of the cycle of poverty, going to university and stuff like that. You can just make a big declaration and be like, okay, everything of a shelf life, even a house. Where just that sometimes you're not rich enough to out there to say I'm gonna remake a whole house. But knowing that, okay, yeah, you know that things have a shelf life. You know that, okay, yeah, this house, you can start the things to maintain, like, okay, monthly inspection and stuff like that, and things like that. And that's the thing where be like the difference between rich and poor and stuff like that. It's the ability to do these stuff more frequently, more frequently than others. So it's not the difference or say, okay, we are just doing it. The old the same food, shelter, and clothing is there. It's just that who is able to buy the better food, shelter, and clothing, replace the food, shelter, and clothing, and then when actually replace, it, you actually buy better food, shelter, and clothing, and the food, shelter, and clothing actually last longer. And what happens on with that, right, difference between a celebrity and all these stuff now. They have the ability to buy so much food, shelter, and clothing that to the peasants like us and stuff like that, we all they just start coming and say stuff like, "Oh my God, this stuff that they buy, so they do stuff like make stuff out of garbage and all these stuff." And you'd be like, "Well, yeah, yeah," because they were in the time of abundance, so they become the word flamboyant, flamboyant. That's the thing now. When you actually listen to the part, when you actually listen to when you actually start listening to this podcast, you're actually reaching this flamboyant stage. You know, say, yo, this actually coming and reaching the flamboyant stage. You'll be like, you this, yo, yeah, yo, this is flamboyant. They start speaking English. That's the thing, though. That's the thing. When I actually come in and listen to my podcast, even if you want to say my bad talking, there, so when you start listening to the podcast, bro, you actually have a bachelor's knowledge, bro. This you maybe can't apply, but you're hearing someone with a bachelor's, bro, speaking, like, yeah. I hear various people with bachelors and masters, and all these people. So the podcast is basically someone with bachelor's from his experience, and be like, yeah. So it's like that's the thing. I be like, yeah. And what happens is that he's growing. He's growing. Things are growing. It started out somewhere, and things are growing, and it's like, yeah. So I get, so that's the thing about this episode. This main thing that I'm on this recording from my head, bro, and I have to actually kind of two things. The main thing about this episode is the main thing for this episode. The main of it is that you when you reach this point, you out there to have so much ideas that for one you out there to need concrete way to actually present the ideas, but you actually need more time because what happens is that you're in the execution, you hear the podcast, you out there to hear the planning and all the phases. You're out there to actually doing this stuff now, bro. So what happens that you always have to be like, okay, I have to actively sit down and come out and say, okay, I'm going to actively come out and tell you that I'm going to do this stuff that I'm actually doing. That's the thing in the difference between mouth talk and doing this stuff, So back in the days, you only hear me doing mouth talk. You be like, oh my God, you always say me talking and proclaiming this stuff now. Then you always actually see me doing it in person. You be like, so that's what happened now. So sometimes a fan will say, okay, but he's actually seeing it in person. Yeah. So what happened is that I didn't change. The ability for me, what changed was my ability to, to turn my mouth talk into action more quickly. So what happened is that my mouth talk into action is actually it to do more quickly, but I didn't change. I didn't change. Just that those were the ideas I will proclaim. You see me out in the street and proclaiming those stuff. But what happens is that because I'm able to do it now, the daughters them now have started farmland now and they can do it. And someone better doing it better now because the daughters them can do it and we can do it. And then I start trickle up economics and all this stuff, right? Because I actually rose I had the doubt, and I had the doubt, and people they saw me do it. It becomes trickle up economics, and that's so you have a thing like driving as a luxury now. Perspective after see those episodes, be like, okay, yeah. it's a science talk on driving and be like, oh my god, no we out there driving and stuff like that. And stuff like that. And be like, okay. And why be like, okay, not because you're out there doing science and not driving doesn't mean that you can't get a girl or stuff like that. It's just that you reach a point now where it be like you you're not primitive, or you're not primitive, or what happens that you actually that's the reason why I say, yeah, you actually need to know what the time was before. That's the thing of even science. There's have history. You learn about Einstein and back in the days and back in the 90s and stuff like that. But yeah, but so me now will be back in the 90s. But yeah, I hear people back in the 80s, 1700 and stuff like that. And be like, yeah, why those histories are important was because there was a time when those things didn't exist. And you actually need to know about them. Because what happens, no matter how when it comes, there will be a time of shortage in everything. There will be a time of shortage, and that's how you know that's where actually say legends born, these stuff. You always say legends born, these stuff. Every like yeah, that time of shortage, and what happens is that most of the great stuff came out of the time of shortage, of the time of shortage and stuff like that. So what happens? So because of the time of shortage, the legend made this stuff. You got this dominating, and what happens that now it becomes a luxury now. Everybody else is doing it. So we actually that becomes a luxury now. Blah blah blah. Nobody don't remember what the personal cost was and all those stuff. All we just do is remember that okay, this thing now becomes a luxury. So what was being praised for? So what will happen is that I will show what will happen is that no because I will show people this on my oh I actually graduated in that with the same everything. So what will happen is that you were a master in your field but a far shot. So because there's a far shot and there's have the stump on your something you'll be like okay yeah every time out there's a proof that you prove you are respected your opinion matters when it comes to do or die situation. But when a do or die situation come now, everything come back to normal and be like, oh my god, everybody else forgot about those days. I forgot about those days. And be like, yeah, forgot about this. So what happens like, okay, you out there's a winning, you out there's a coming and winning your stuff. That's the reason why sometimes be like, all these things, you always have to just focus on yourself. Yo, there's a proving it. You're proving this stuff to yourself, not to to not to yours. You're putting yourself up to your standards. What happens is that once the mass is out there, the mass is out there crying out, be like, oh my god, I need my problem solved. Boom, problem solved. Everyone forgets. And it's like back to normal. Everything now becomes a luxury. So it's like, no, yo, this will come back to the same now. So same now problem. Like, oh my god. That's why you have things like people they say cursing, 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 and then all of a sudden they come in and hooking up and all these stuff. Because what? Because what? They don't forget the bad days. They don't care. They start doing these stuff. Or yeah, it's way more complex than that. Way more complex than that. What happens is that I'm just telling you 2025 me now, bro. 2025 me now. So what happens is that 2025 me the same thing where prevention is better than cure. So there's a real listen to me this time be like, oh my god, it's so obvious as of that. Because it's so obvious is the reason why yo this listening to me and cannot actually say yo yo this not that's the thing. Yo, that's the rule of the chemistry of life. You are the chemistry of life or stuff like that. Where be like, oh my god, I'm out there extending your life so much that every time you see me, there's a calling me stupid because what? My job is actually make you live long enough to actually see me to tell me I'm stupid. Because what you out there to see me every day, so it's actually I'm actually doing my job in inverted. So that's the thing with a doctor every time I go. when every time I go to the doctor, the doctor will give you answer and say, oh, do that and stuff like that. So you can go up there just like Google everything. Everything is get better. It'll be like, okay, Google. You can Google stuff and then get answer. But you can't really trust Google like that out there because what happens that you're not a professional. Doctor is a professional, so you can. So what means that when you go to a doctor, you can actually go to the doctor and say, yo, these are the problems, and the doctor can also go out and recommend something to you quick. But you can just go on Google and be like, oh my god, what is my cure to this? Because what happens that even the professional out there, so it always they be typing stuff and all these things and be like, oh my god, or stuff like that. And it still doesn't. And you, you're not the professional. You are not the right person out there. I'm gonna get my doctor degree and stuff like that. I think you never know. You never know. I think I'm not a doctor. They never know if a doctor out there could solve their own problem. Actor call the episode about the doctor. So I can never tell if a doctor can actually solve their own problem. Maybe the doctor have to go to a different doctor or stuff like that. But when I reach this part, I'm gonna actually realize that there's a reason why. Even to this day, you can't just go on Google and be like, "Oh my God, let me Google what's my problem," and be like, even that doing that, going to a doctor is 10 times better because with stuff you can out there, so speak your problems and be like, "Oh my God." Oh, I just like how you don't go to a doctor and be like, oh my god, I out there so have this issue with my with my foot or stuff like that. So and Google can come out and speak to you and tell you that okay, yeah, do this and do that. But if you don't have the money to actually do it, bro, what will happen is that, and that's the thing, Google stuff like Google and stuff like that, they will tell you the right answer. But it's just that to actually do it, bro. That's the thing, bro. That's the thing. That's basically I think for the Reframe Mindset podcast. Reframe Mindset podcast. I'm just telling you what happens that I'm reaching a new year. New year. So we ain't back in the days anymore, bro. It's a new year. New year. Facade of the glory is actually over now. It's a new phase now. And it's like okay. Bro, this is not as poor as bro. This is making purchases for ourselves now. Bro, this is making purchases for ourselves now. Putting our foot in the game. And it's like, yeah, we were just making foot in the game, bro. And it's like, yeah. So nothing did change. But the important thing for this episode is saying that, yeah, the house, the door mesh, bro, that was actually one of the best investments ever. I end up going forward if I'm going to, that actually one of the best things to actually do for every house. And that's the thing, where it be like, okay, you're in the fourth year now and stuff like that. These stuff are good ideas until you find a better idea. So I'm telling you right now in 2025, the door mesh thing, bro, it actually solves. So they put the thing in different compartments. I think about it is that this is the thing about it, you'll be like, okay, I'm going from a certain level. These things are actually obvious. That's why sometimes these things are actually obvious, but you actually have to go through and experience it to actually see why it's so great. So like, what happened was that what I put up the door mesh and the front door, and I saw that the chicken was not there. I was like, oh my god, my problem was solved. So I actually bought one more now, and actually put it for the back door and buy extra. I bought three. So what will happen is what happens that we're going out there and actually going out to actually wash my clothes. And immediately as I open the door, I see the chickens, bro. And it's like, oh my god, bro. It's like that's the thing with the thing. I bought the solution and I put it, and you have to actually implement the solution. That's the next thing. You actually have to implement the solution. So I actually do it to the front door and it solved the problem. Say okay, say oh, it solved the problem. But at the same time, no, if you don't actually fully implement the problem that go around and see the problem same way and be like, oh my god, bro, the problem is this. and oh, it immediately reminds you of why you actually purchased the solution. Immediately be reminded why you purchased the solution and be like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Actually, so that's the reason now in this phase of the podcast, we'll be like, okay, I'm out there, so buying the solution and stuff like that, but I have to actually implement. So it's like you don't sometimes I don't have time to come in and I'll tell you that. And by the time I actually come out, I have so much stuff to sell. So it's like, yeah, so that's the phase now. I'll be like, okay, I'm actually implementing this stuff now. After actually implement this stuff, the problem was there. That was the reason actually coming and buy the stuff itself. So yeah, that's basically the thing. Where we like, yeah, we passed the idea phase. Now we're actually doing the stuff in real, doing the stuff better, bigger and better. So it's like the stuff is a lot more. You actually go out and do this stuff in real life and be like, okay, yeah. Then I come back and give you some episode and be like, yeah, give you my experiences and then boom, you actually understand. Um, yeah, so it's like that's basically the episode. Like, yo, the issue that I still have in 2025 is actually clean up the house because I said the hurricane from last year actually affected a lot of stuff. Actually, I bought an office chair and stuff like that. So the idea is actually to make more business purchases to the podcast. Cause even though I have a mic now, and what happens is that I realize that if you listen to the previous episode, the mic stand actually broke. It's not broken. It's actually not as good. It's a perfectly good mic stand, bro. But my arrogance, bro. I was out there changing up the home and actually broke it and stuff like that. So with that, in my time of abundance again, I actually buy a better or different mic stand. No, so what I actually looking at the mic stand now, and it was actually being broken. But it's like I actually broke it more. So what happened that if I can afford to get a different mic stand and stuff like that. Oh, there's a bite and then get rid of this mic stand and then boom bang quick. You see another person out there so with a mic stand and out there so competing with me, bro. So what happens is that actually take the time to sit down and upgrade my stuff. And then now my thing becomes a luxury. Out there, I have a person out there, so there's another person out there with a mic stand out there, so we're trying podcast and stuff like that. I'm like, oh my god, bro. Yeah, yeah, bro. Because I actually took the time to actually go out and upgrade stuff. And then now that we upgrade now, we have some it's that competition, bro. It's like it's not competition. You know, there's open the field and be like, okay, we open the field now, and it's like, yo, now that we open the field now, yo, this can just focus on doing some other stuff. But sometimes that's the main thing about this episode. We'll be like, oh my god, I finally like the phase that I was in the employee phase, but then now I'm upgrading now to doing business moves. So I like, oh my god. So that's thing I'm like more I'm talking to my friend, be like, oh my god, I love the basketball days, bro. But bro, I remember the days, yo, when I couldn't even get a job, bro. I remember the days every day I go out there, bro. They insulting me, bro. So it's like, yeah. So I love those days, bro. Those days. And now the good days are gone, bro. So you have to be like, okay, yeah, I have to actually let's move on. Like, yo, they insulting us, bro. And it's like, and I think, sometimes they're not wrong, but it's like, yo, hey, we do these things for fun, bro. But they're all just doing this stuff in real life. So, like, yeah. So it's like, yeah. So those are stuff you're doing me. Be like, oh my god, bro, you're actually coming now. I'm out there doing this stuff now, bro. We're just doing this stuff in real life, and we reach this level now. We reach a level now where we're just buying this stuff in real life. Now we actually want it, bro. And the experience now is the whole home, bro. That is actual experiences. Until you see me go back out in the court again doing the same thing, bro. See the other thing, bro. They see the same people, the same place, bro, doing the same thing, bro. They didn't change. We didn't change, bro. They see we're the same place, bro. They see we at the same place, bro. It's just that I didn't have any money at that time, bro. I wasn't rich as much. And I think now, that's thing actually, you listen to this now. You actually really listen to this now, and you didn't realize how poor I was at the time I was listening to it. You didn't realize, but but I was legit that poor, bro. But then you hear another episode, bro, and be like, oh my god, bro, when since because while I was out there, so you were out there, so listening to me, bro, I was out there, so actually, I was implementing this stuff. I had to be out there, actually implementing the stuff that I was out there, so rapping for. Yeah. Oh, sure enough, bro. Yeah, so that's the thing. I'd be like, yo, yeah. So actually, I had to be able to implementing the stuff that I want this rap. Sometimes I just feel sad. You see me so sad in real life. Cause certain things just happen in stages, bro. I'm out there say, so what happens is that I'm out there as a homeowner. So all my excitement now comes from being a home, an employee, or or a business person. That's so that's the reason why I be like, yo, yeah, everything has a shelf life. I'm always looking at my degree right now. I'm looking at my degree. I'm looking at my graduation picture and all these stuff. I'm looking at all these stuff right now as I'm speaking. And be like, yeah, that phase is over, bro. So all those glory days that I was speaking about is over. So what they actually listen to me now is actually talking about my 40th home ownership or stuff like that. Those are my highlights now. Those are highlights of my life, my business purchases. You hear I say I'll get my first seal. I know to do stuff, recording my YouTube videos again, bro, and stuff like that. Those are my highlights. So it's like those days ain't coming back, bro. Those days like coming back now because well, we actually achieved this stuff. So it's like talking about those stuff is like a cry and deaf ears. So we're like, yeah, we all this talking about 2018 and 2025 now. It's like, yeah, we have to it's nothing. It's important to acknowledge 2018. It's actually important to acknowledge those days. It's important to acknowledge those days. That's why history is important. We actually have to be talking about 2025, bro. Like, okay, we have to update our stuff, update our status and all these stuff. And be like, yeah. Even though those stuff were 2018, bro, back in the days, we always say in 2025, man. Be like, yeah. These are stuff we always living now. I have to do it real time. I'm like, So what will happen is that the podcast is what I'm doing now, still in 2025. You always still doing the podcast. But if you actually see me in real life, bro, if you actually see me in real life, I would always still doing the podcast because that's what we actually like to do, bro. But we also want to do more gaming and all these stuff. But sometimes be like the gamers be like, oh my god, bro. Years we haven't seen this boy out this gaming, bro. What happened was that if actually I was listening, bro. We actually live whereas living nowhere, bro. You're actually in the basement. Like that's the thing that bro. When you're actually in the basement, bro, you're gonna realize that yeah. Even the basement days, they have their time, bro, but everything have a shelf life, bro. those basement days, bro, those are good days, but we ain't supposed to go back about those days, bro. The day was in the single room, bro, and stuff like that. And that thing now, sometimes I actually go, and that thing I know in 2025. So I actually go back to my university back in the days and try to see the room to my stuff I like that. But I'm in the fourth year of home ownership now. If I were to actually go back to the university now, will it be very nostalgic now? I'd be like, oh my god, bro. I was actually in this situation. That's the thing about the podcast. You actually listen to it and be like, yeah, I was actually there, bro. So now you actually understand. Yeah, we're actually trying not to go back. Or what happens that those days, yeah, when actually listening to it, I'll be like, oh my god, those days were so nice, bro. So you're getting every perspective to say, yeah. When we go back there, bro, we're trying to not go back. We're trying to go back this way. That's the reason why every year, yo, they see me going back in the world. See me give up certain stuff and be like, oh my god, bro. I'm getting praise every year, bro. I'm getting praise every year, bro. Cause what? We out this acknowledging that, yo, we, ain't- we we out this that we're doing. Cause yo, we out this to satisfy what we have, bro. But working for what we want to get, bro. That's our role. We don't inflate our lifestyle. We don't inflate our lifestyle. We don't go out there trying to overplay our hands, bro. We go out there to be like, yeah, we're grateful for those days, bro. Grateful for those days. Grateful for the opportunity that we could have a single room, bro. Grateful for the opportunity that we have a home, bro. What happens is that I'm going to be in this home, hear me home alone, bro. Then boom, me out there to see people come in, bro, and be like, oh my god, now you're gonna hear the podcast, and then me always accommodate people out there, so while I record the podcast, and gonna hear me talking about how terrible they were. And they're hearing this real time, bro. So that's the thing, now, bro. You know what I'm saying? The 4 year of home ownership. Now. You never know, and eventually I will start to live with these people. So that's the thing. Now, at one point, we actually was living with these people, bro. So that's the reason why you actually experience these stuff where we actually don't want to go back there. And why that's the reason why, even though we don't want to go back there, we actually have to acknowledge where we are now today. Sometimes, so that's the reason why you have resume updates and stuff like that. You want to actually depend between rich and poor. So it's a frequency they could actually update the resume. So sometimes it's not the fact that okay, there's a job hopping or something like out there. No, sometimes maybe like okay, I got something new from the same company that I've had. My ability to actually update that quick on my resume and stuff like that is the difference between a better person in the same place than another person. It's like, yo, the ability to just do that. It's like, so that's the thing, we'll be like, going to this level now, all those simple, minute stuff that we all here so laughing about or ignoring. That's the thing about actually even the BSc as a luxury. You're out there, so you actually achieve it so far long, bro. You're out there, so living what you're out there. Here's a walking, here's a walking, like, like for example, all this talking about body count. You're a walking body count. Like that's how you actually, like at some point you can't. They can actually walk in and quantify the stuff now. Actually go out, that's the thing about when you actually reach this phase now, bro. You're out there, so you're not out there, so you're past the phase of that's the thing when you actually reach this phase. You pass the phase where you're out there, so talking, people can out there goes and quantify and say, yeah, 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 actually was there. Actually didn't do that, bro. Actually didn't do that. You're listen having people yeah, that's the thing about talk about presidential debates and stuff like that. Even so that's the thing about trickle economics and stuff like that. You see the best doing these stuff. And like what happens that in 1 year, you see people fact checking in real time and stuff like that. And all of a sudden that becomes a luxury. Every country now can fact check in real life now. Every country out there is fact checking in real life. Now all of a sudden every politician out there to be like, oh my god. But what happens? Because the number one place came up with that idea now. So that's the only thing I have like democracy and then now we have Republican going to Republican and the monarch and stuff like that. Is what happens that somebody have an idea and then all of a sudden sometimes the idea is revolutionary, but everybody can do it. So all of a sudden, boom, the monarch was so revolutionary. Then somebody actually come in and implement the monarchy elsewhere. So it's like you have the Queen's monarch, then you have the the American monarch, you have all these monarchs and stuff like that. No, that becomes a luxury. Monarchs are just a luxury. Monarchs are not a luxury. So now we have monarchs that are actually a luxury now we actually come in and be like, yeah, 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 this monarch better and stuff like that. And then somebody come out and say, you know what, we ain't gonna be a monarch anymore, bro. We're gonna be a republic. So because what happens is that the monarch was a bad enough, bro. It just the, the republic out there so beating the monarch. Beat. But what happens is that the reason why the republic was out there so winning for so long is that nobody could actually implement the republic. It's like, yo, because that because of that now, yeah, for years they always say winning with the same formula, the same old book until somebody go out and finally implement it. And think about it, when you finally implement it without the backlash. Everything nowadays, I'm out there, so I'm the biggest hater of everything. I think they call me the cheap person, bro. I'm the biggest hater of everything, bro. Until we actually do it, then I see me also become the biggest supporter. I'm the biggest hater. We're the biggest skeptics, bro. We're the biggest skeptics until we out there to do it. So what happens that now? Out there, so we see the Republic out there, so winning and beating the monarch, beating it every day until somebody else out there so could do it. And then what it becomes a luxury now. Now everybody else is doing the Republic now. And after when that we do the Republic, everybody know what the monarch was, bro. And now everybody know what the monarch was and be like, yeah, yeah. Now we know why the Republic was out there so winning. And now everybody else is doing it. No, we actually be like, yeah, we actually find a new idea. Actually find a new idea. And what happens is that when a new idea comes in, bro, the new idea will come and they all this a win. We all this a win, bro. But can't tell why we all this a win, bro. Can't tell why we all this a win. And that's the thing. And when we can't tell why we all this a winning, bro, it becomes a luxury because it happens that the person losing is actually coming out and feeling the brunt of what they're losing and be like, okay, we have to actually implement this stuff because this is the right formula, bro. That's the thing now, bro. When out the, so that's the thing when you're actually winning, bro. You don't feel the winning. What you actually feel is the losers actually coming in and just changing to what you were doing, bro. Then it becomes a luxury. It becomes a luxury. And then now everybody out there is doing the same thing now and be like, okay, yeah, yeah. So now that we're also doing the same thing now, we actually find something else to do now. Yeah, so that's basically this for me, bro. Like find those mesh. I actually bought an extra one, but no, I actually realized that yeah, I would actually go out and buy some way more for each room and just doing and that's the stuff where I'd be like, yo, in the fourth year of home ownership, I was gonna say fourth year compared to a different year or a different year of ownership or whatever, don't compare is that you're gonna realize is that you're gonna find you grew up in a certain home and attack perspective experience and stuff like that. We'll be like, okay, experiences change. We'll be like, okay, I was a kid once or stuff like that, but we're still a kid. It's just that we're a kid now with a bachelor of science. Or we're like, oh, bachelor of science for so many years now. All these stuff. Can't always go up and do those stuff. You can always say but so that's the thing with the home. You'll be like, okay, this is my fourth year of home ownership. But the land has been here for years, bro. It just that we changed it up, bro. It was changed. So is that the same ideas, bro. The same idea. We just all this are regurgitating why we all this are doing it. All this. And the reason why is because of the next thing I'm actually gonna say, bro. So the next thing was actually coming, talk about life insurance and stuff like that. Actually went in and actually changed the gas again and what is a frequently changing gas replacing gas and well not frequently just constantly replacing or that actually be that as the home is getting bigger I actually have to be more aware of how I'm using the gas and stuff like that and doing that now you're there so knowing that the reason a why something like rice cooker or electric stove exists or stuff like that. Because what happens that the longer I you have a person like me on this or doing stuff lazily and forgetting to do things like turn off gas. What I actually do is I actually have to overspend on gas, you know, and so I'm not using it to its potential. I say that I'm actually coming at increase the risk of assume the risk of what the gas pan does or what I'm doing with a gas pan and stuff like that. And why it and stuff like that. At the same time, the duality is I actually have to be actively I actually have to be actively saying, okay, yes, I'm a person who have to be cooking for myself now. So when I'm in the kitchen, bro, I have to out there, so be out there. I'm like, yeah, actively in the kitchen. I can't be out there. So that's the thing we're going out. Can't be all this cooking and all this recording podcasts and stuff like that. These are stuff I have to all this. So they stop doing it, bro. You have to actually be separating these stuff. So I said these are stuff. So these are stuff of adulthood. I be like, yeah. You always want to do your passion, bro, but you always have to come in and be like, yeah, you have to try to separate this stuff. So it's like, yo, a lot of bad ideas, bro. Yeah. So it's a new year, new opportunity, new component stuff. And the important episode is frame of perspective. That's the thing. Frame of perspective where be like every day you wake up, you're gonna realize that oh, I could have been there, but you don't realize that you could have been. You're gonna realize every day is a blessing in disguise. Even the bad situation, bro, it actually teaches you how to prevent the worst of situation and stuff like that. It's like, oh my god, could have been there. Oh, this I finished up my last manual driving class, bro. Now I was ready for the road and all these stuff. You know, see me always driving and all these things. So it's like, yo, we did that. Have the shirt. I guess one thing now is actually for us to do the face review and all this stuff. Like everything is out there, so coming in and being implemented. So that's the thing. Be like, oh, these episodes now is a cry and the fears. It's a cry and the fears, yeah. But there's a reason why I still do this podcast, bro. Because what? There was a time of shortage, bro. There was a time of shortage, but if I don't remember those days of shortage, um, you out there will be like, yeah, yeah, you'll be like, oh, like I'm always looking at my graduation picture, bro, for university, bro. I'm like, oh my god, yeah, in 2025, in 2025. And be like, oh my god, I hate so much stuff about those pictures now in 2025. You know, I'm critiquing every day on all those stuff, and all those things, But at the same time, bro, 2021, that picture is relevant for that reason, bro. I don't remember, bro. I don't remember the reason, bro. I'm gonna out there to forget. That's what the reason why you have frame of perspective, bro. Why? You're gonna listen to the episode, but like everything expires, bro, for a reason, bro, so that you can actually get a better. So even this podcast, I'm out there to update and stuff like that. There's there's gonna be a point in time where you actually stop listening to it, start implementing the stuff that I actually do, and be like, I don't need this stuff anymore. Then you actually come back. You come back and hear me talking about some other stuff. Even you don't care hear about that talk, and you just come back and listen to the same things, bro, and be like, yeah, yeah, because what happens is that you actually see what happens that the podcast actually get you out of the door, out of the basement. Now you're actually out there doing this stuff. You don't have to out there so going out and listening to me from the basement now. You're just out of the basement in the real life doing this stuff now. So it's like it's like studying for university thing now. You'll be like, okay, actually applying the stuff in real life now. So it's like, yo, out there, so not only thing out there so can do now is like that's the thing the difference between a master's and a PhD, bro. A master's and a PhD, I record this episode in times one. The master and PhD is going out there, so I listening to this stuff in 2 times speed and be like, okay, this is garbage, garbage, garbage. And be like, take one sentence and be like, yeah, 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 garbage, 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 and do this stuff. That's the thing. That's the benefit that they have. But we have to actually take our time and do this stuff right, bro. Do this stuff right, so that when we implement it right and all these stuff, when they actually quote us, bro. And that's the thing about careers how trainer, bro. When we do this stuff right and stuff like that, you know, bro, and they actually just come in and just quote us, you know, bro, and just quote us, you know, bro. Just feel away, bro. And the podcast tell all the journey, you know, bro. What they actually do is just come in and just quote us and be like, yeah, Colin just said, he just said just buy a mesh, bro. 2025 episode 100 of the Reframe Mindset podcast. He just told me to actually come in and buy a door mesh, bro. And that's how we get really regulated, you know, bro. We actually we become a person that say, "Yo, buy a mesh, bro." And all those stuff are special, you know, bro. It's special to us, bro. We like, yo, buy a mesh in 2025, bro. And that's our did they even they would not even become a reference anymore, bro. We actually be like, oh my god, bro. Yeah, yeah. Like, yo. That's basically for this episode. Thank you for listening and look forward for the next episode. Yeah.
Well, this is the end of the episode. Thanks for watching and look forward for the next episode. To support this podcast, go to anchor.fm/cssb/support or become a sponsor for this episode. If you have a product that you want to have more exposure, DM me on the Instagram page, Reframing Mindset Podcast, or on Twitter at ReframingP. Either way would help. Thank you regardless for listening, and here's a preview for the next episode.